Peace, peace. What's up, everybody? We back, Eclectic Minds Podcast, and we're with a special guest, Virginia Rawlins. But before I get into that, I want to welcome back my co-host too, Liv with her funky ass. What's up? What's up, Liv? Glad to have
You're
you
the only
back.
funky one here, okay? You're the only one funky here. That's a fact.
Gotta have you back,
Fact.
Liv. It's good to see you. So you know I love
Good
you.
to see
What's
you
up,
too.
Virginia?
man.
How much?
What's up? What's up?
Let me introduce you
Welcome.
by saying this. This is a woman that wears many hats, and we're gonna get into all the different hats that she wear on this episode. And I'm just glad to have you. You know, I reached out to you, and it was like, yeah, I'll do it. Just I like shit like that. I didn't. It was no pulling no teeth or twisting no arms. So that's dope.
Nah, you've always given me good energy, so
Yeah. No, I appreciate that.
the
You said
energy
that.
aligns.
Yeah, you said that. Yeah, you said that too. You was like, I always appreciate your support. No, and I think that's big in the Black and brown community. You know what I'm saying? Just that. You know, if you don't give me nothing else, just give me your respect and your hey, best of luck. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that shit
Yeah,
mean a lot.
yeah.
That
Don't
shit,
need don't need any more things weighing you down, right? Outside
exactly.
of
Word,
life.
word. So let me ask you this. Let's get right into the things that you do for the people and the viewers that don't necessarily know. So lay that out for us.
Okay, so I am Virginia Rawlins, aka the Grant Lady, aka all things real estate in the capital
Love that.
region, aka Miss Black Homeownership. So yeah,
Okay.
so I'm in real estate. I'm a real estate agent. But I think what people actually know me for, right, is Building Blocks Together, which is my company that I started to primarily focus on minority homeownership, right? In the aspects of education, ownership, right, and then eventually development. And then in that role, for the last few years, we've been administering a first-time homebuyer grant for African Americans here in the capital region. And we just actually closed last week on 172nd homebuyer.
That's
2
dope,
years.
man.
2 years.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
That's
Thank you,
dope.
thank you, thank you.
Good
That's dope.
job.
That's dope as
Yeah,
hell.
so yeah, all things real estate, just kind of the importance of real estate, why you should buy, why you shouldn't be afraid to buy.
Hmm.
But more importantly, I think just like connecting us, right? I think when I started at the land bank, and even in the various roles I've had since grant administrator roles, it's not a lot of us coming through those doors, right? Especially my last spot that I was at was real estate development. So it was really none of us, right?
Mm.
With those larger real estate development projects. So I think the capital region, just, kind of my time here, I've been here like 10 years, is a lot of opportunity for wealth for us through real estate, right? I find that a lot of us don't know where the grants are, where the workshops are, what the process is, right? How do I go and pull a permit, right? How do I go get a land bank building if that's the route that I want to go, right? How do I get financed for that land bank building? I feel
Mhm.
like a lot of the stuff surrounding real estate, we spin our wheels on, right? And as we're spinning our wheels on it, we're literally missing like an opportunity to enter the game to kind of gain wealth. So that's kind of why I started Building Blocks, and that's kind of what I'm representing right now.
That's
That's awesome.
you say all those things and stuff like that, and the shit sounds like a lot because it is a lot.
Yeah.
It is a
It
lot.
is.
So what do you think is like the biggest hurdles that you saw just as you coming into you being who you are, Black woman or whatever, and
Hmm.
pretty much other ethnicities that you have and stuff like that you associate with. Um, what do you think like what's been the biggest hurdle for you personally?
I think for me, I think I put it on my status a couple weeks ago. So I think for me, I think you get into this, right? And I think just being minorities, we are raised on the man, the man, right? And not to say that the invisible hand is not real, but the man is not real, right?
Hmm.
Because it is, right?
Yeah.
Structural systemic racism is absolutely there. But I think just really being in this work, like people who look like me is the hardest ones to reach, right? Or like I'm not getting support or right, that I'm thinking that I want to get, right, or I should be getting, right.
Let me hold on. Let me not to cut your
people
wisdom.
that look like me.
Let me not to cut your wisdom. So you just touched on something very important, right? Because I just had this conversation with somebody too the other day.
Yeah.
The people that you look like you're not to support you. Do you think that when that happens, they just look at you, oh, she full of shit. This can't be. This is, they're too good to be true type shit. Do you think that's the case?
Yeah, I do. So I think I think there are many separations among us that we're still dealing with outside of the skin tones variation of all of us, right? I think we separate ourselves by income, the same way the system does, right? We separate ourselves by income. We separate ourselves by education class, right? So I went to college, so I think if I'm speaking to somebody or speaking to a group of people who are not necessarily college educated, there is that immediate disconnect, right? Like, no, the only reason why you're able to do that is because you went to school and you did this, and this. And I'm like, oh man, right? Like, right, school obviously has afforded me all of the opportunities, right, that I've kind of been going into. But at the same time, I can give you 5 people who didn't go to school, who weren't in the military, that also own property, right?
Correct.
So, like, we kind of set up almost barriers within the barriers of why we can't own, why we shouldn't own. And I hear it less now, especially since like 2020 with the whole George Floyd thing and kind of the banks and everybody kind of being big on increasing minority wealth. But a lot of people used to tell me, like, that ain't for us, like, that's not for me. And it's like, what are you talking about? Like, why wouldn't it be for you? And then I tell them, like, you think that, kind of going back to the man, right? So you think that the government purposely kept you and everybody who looked like you, related to you, lived in certain areas out of real estate because it's not for you, because it wasn't going to benefit you? That's what you think, right? Like, they definitely made it harder, but it's absolutely
redlining.
Right,
Yes,
with redlining. Yes, I'm touching on
predatory
redlining.
lending.
Yeah.
Right. So you think like redlining was intentional, and even today, right, we see kind of the same stuff, right? So if you go into the land bank, they've partnered with home headquarters out of Syracuse, but no local lender will touch a land bank property and really finance a land bank property, right? They have to go all the way to Syracuse, right, to get somebody to back the property and allow for people, Black and brown people, to purchase and rehab the properties. Otherwise, I mean, I was on the inside, I could tell you. Otherwise, it was an investor's game, right? Without that financial partnership, there was people coming in. Oh, I got straight cash. I got it. Or you know what they was doing, which was like completely mind blowing to me, and I was like, I definitely am in the right field. People were buying and saying that we're gonna buy and rehab land bank properties with the equity in their house.
Really?
Yes. They'll highlight the line of equity that they had in their house and submit that with their land bank application and say, I'm going to use if I'm approved, right, I'm going to use the equity in my house to acquire and rehab this land bank property. That was like so mind blowing to me, but that is literally how people build their wealth, right? You get that first house, whatever it is, you let it appreciate, whatever the case is, you pull out, you do the cash out refi, basically, right? That's what everybody's doing, especially when rates were low during the pandemic. And then you use that money, which is almost free money. Like,
correct, because it's just the appreciation
of money. It was literally in your house, right? Like, you just took out the appreciation. So
you was literally sitting on that shit.
Literally sitting on money. So that was like one of the things that was like mind boggling to me. Like when I first got into the real estate game, that I was like, wait, they're not taking out a new loan. They're not saving money. They literally pulling money out their house and saying, here, I want to flip this into another crib, which is obviously was going to be a rental property, right? So straight income. And then with the land bank properties, most cases you are buying at 5, 10, 15, putting in whatever. Like I said, you do the cash out refi, you just pay, it's yours.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people kind of shoot themselves in the foot, right? Just kind of with the mindset of that's not for me. Or if it's a little hard, like, how am I supposed to save? I'm robbing Peter to pay Paul. Everybody is, right? The same way you hustle up that money to go to Jamaica is the same way you need to hustle up that money for the down payment. But in addition to that, I think a lot of people are like, well, where are the grants? I don't know where the grants are. I
Yeah.
don't know where the resources are, right? So I think it's like really multi-layered, right? Like literally like the actual barriers that are kind of there, or what we're seeing kind of resulting, right, from redlining. We have Schenectady, you can see where they were redlining at.
Yeah.
Anywhere, any city you go into,
Any city
it's
you can
very
see with
easy
that
to
shit.
see
Yeah, if you're
where the
paying close
redlining took
attention.
place, right?
Yeah.
So we're obviously still dealing with that today, but I think it's more so the mindset of us, right? We kind of been beaten so bad mentally that we don't even deserve wealth. Like we want to, if it's not the rat race, we're almost, I feel like with real estate is almost like, and I guess I should start explaining it like this. Like real estate is almost like your ticket out the rat race, right? If you don't see yourself punching a clock for 30, 40, 50 years, retiring, we're younger, we're going to retire they're going to make the age like 75,
Oh
right?
my God.
So if you don't see yourself working to 75, retire for 5 years and then clocking out, right?
Oh
Real
my God.
estate investing, right? That is the way out the rat race, right? And it's hard. I'm not going to say that it's easy. There's definitely sacrifice in it, like fixing your credit, maintain a stable income, putting some couple dollars together. Like it is a process, right? But if you can get through that one process, and I'm talking about one property, you can get out the rat race.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
I might need your card, girl. I
I'm
definitely need your
gonna
card.
give you my information for sure. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That's all gonna be coming.
So I know that, like you said, when you're from certain places, different demographics, or a certain demographic, it seems almost impossible to be able to get to that place where you have the capital, where you have, someone in your corner telling you all of the steps. This is how you get a grant. This is how you write a grant. This is how, you do this. This is how you do that. Because I know, like, for a lot of people, especially in the lower income areas, it's hard, especially with that debt to income ratio, because you're making money mostly. A lot of people who are in that rat race are paycheck to paycheck. They're living
Yeah.
paycheck to paycheck, hand to mouth. So how does someone who's in that type of situation, living in that type of situation, get out of it? Because it is systemic and it is generational as well. Generational wealth is something that is not, black and brown people don't normally, that's not something that's typical in black and brown neighborhoods. And I know myself because, I'm born and raised in Brooklyn. We lived in apartments our whole life. The first
Right.
time I ever lived in a house, I was an adult, so how would someone coming from that without that hand up be able to get out of that rat race, like you said? You can talk a
Yeah.
little bit
So
about
I
that.
think typically what people say, they're like, oh, you need to go and make more money. Like it's only 24 hours in a day, right? And if I go make more money, what does that mean? I'm spending less time with my loved ones. I'm spending less time with my
Hmm.
kids. I'm doing less fun
Less
things,
time on
right?
yourself. Yeah.
Right. So I think, to be honest, and a lot of people don't, I think this is the alternative thinking, and I think I am kind of new to this way of thinking. But we as minorities are like, we're 18 and we're grown. We got to get out the house,
Mm.
right?
Yes.
I think that
Hmm.
is the biggest mistake that we make.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, no, most other races, and I'm saying, speaking from like the Black side, right? I think
Hmm.
mostly 18, right? You're kind of like, I'm on my own, I'm grown, right? Most times I see even Hispanic cultures, there's generations of people living in the house, right? And
Yeah.
Hmm.
and what you're talking about is a income thing, right? I think, and I'm gonna go a different way real quick. Like I think everybody talks about this is unaffordable, this is unaffordable, this is unaffordable, this is unaffordable. We never, ever hear politicians or anybody else say the way to solve unaffordability is to pay people more.
No, never. They
It's
never
a
say
wage
that.
issue, right?
Yeah.
It's a wage issue.
Yeah.
It's an income issue.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's the one thing. So there needs to be a major shift in the rhetoric, especially for the Democratic side, that, oh, this is unaffordable. No, we need to raise wages to
That's
match
it.
what things cost, right?
Correct.
That's, I think, on the policy side. But I think on our side, we're kind of victims of the game, right? So I think multi-generational living, right, is almost a way out of that, right? If everybody is in the house living paychecks to paycheck, you now have 3 or 4 paychecks, right? And that kind of changes the situation, right? And then obviously that takes maturity and teamwork and different things, but
let me touch on something real quick. What
Yep.
you saying? Not to cut your wisdom, right? So you want to roll, but let me just touch on this real quick because you just hit something that a nail right on the head, right? So a lot of different other cultures, they don't, other than Black people, they don't just push everybody out the nest and just, hey, do you. And a lot of the times too with black and brown, well, mostly Black, I'll just say this from my own experiences, is that we be so ready to get out the house because we want to do our own shit. You know what I'm saying? We want to do our own thing. Nobody can tell me this. Nobody can tell me that. When in the brown community and even the Pakistanians and stuff like that, because when I was living in Atlanta, there was a big community of that down there when I was down there.
They live together.
Yeah,
They all live
Virginia,
together.
that shit, that
2,
shit be like
3,
this. It be
4
like,
generations.
yeah, it'd be like one family get on their feet, do their thing. Here come the next family. Get on your feet, do your thing. Here come the next family. And they'll do that shit in one property for like you just said, for like 10 to 12 years. And out of all those people, you done got like 1, 2, 3, 4, like 5 or 6 families that done came up out of that one property. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's the mindset that they had because they looking at it like, yo, we got to help each other get out of this to get to where we necessarily want to be. And Black people that think like that, and it's not all of us, the Black people that think like that, they on a mindset of, well, especially the younger you, because even I've had my share of those thoughts too. Like when I get 18, man, I'm gonna be able to do what I want to do. It's that mindset first. And it's not the mindset of the sacrifice that we gotta make. And don't get me wrong, I don't like living with motherfuckers either. But when you got that mindset of, yo, if I could put myself in a better position to create generational wealth or to create a opportunity, not just for me, but for the people that's also in this house to be in a better, like Liv just said, that shit was deep, what you just said, Liv. Like, you ain't seen a house until you was a grown-ass woman. You know what I'm saying? Yo, to hear you say that shit brought back a reality to me. Like, yeah, I think it was the same thing for me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that shit, that mindset, like you said, Virginia, not to go back to cut your wisdom, but go back to what you're saying. That shit that is a deep process just for people just to sit up there and say, you know what? I'm sacrificing. Like, this family come in, this family leave, this family, we gonna win like this, but we gotta all be on the same page.
Yeah, it's basically like a susu, right, for a house, right? Like you're saying like we all gonna put in for John to get his house, and then once John get his house, we all gonna put in for Mike to get his house, and when Mike get his house, we gonna put for Sue to get her house, and then when Sue get her house, we're gonna put in for Michelle to get her house, and then
somebody throw a black name in there. Kasim gonna get his house.
Kasim, Virginia, right? Jose live, right?
Right. Throw some Black shit in there. We Terrence.
No, I think it has to be like, to your point, Jose, like you said, teamwork and sacrifice, right? I think a lot of the issues, even outside of real estate, that we're dealing with as a people, as minorities, is because we are still fragmented, right? We're not seeing, like, we'll give you the headline, we know, like, you Black or whatever, right? But we're not really seeing each other as equals, as partners, right? As the way to success, right? Like, if I look at you and I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna work with you, this is what we do. I'm gonna go over here in my own corner. I'm gonna post about how hard it is, how I'm struggling, nobody's helping me, right? But at the same time, I'm looking at people that look like me, but I don't see partners in them, right? I don't see how they could help me or how they could advance me, even if they don't have money. I feel like a lot of times people miss blessings because it doesn't involve money.
No.
Right?
Yep.
Sometimes your blessing is somebody that's gonna fix your website.
Word, bond.
Right?
For real.
Yo.
Sometimes your blessing is somebody that's gonna give you a strategic marketing plan to get customers, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not gonna be here's $100,000, right? But that marketing plan might lead to 100,000 in sales, right?
Or somebody's time, or volunteers.
Right. Even just sometimes I think picking somebody, I think people don't even find it valuable to sit and talk to the elders anymore, or talk to somebody who's been there before, right? Like, I'm very like the whole building blocks model. I'm like, isn't it it's just like the company that you think is like. Exactly. Because I'm not reinventing the wheel. I'm using the formula that's already there and making sure that it's for my people. Right? The system works and it's been working for who they intended it to work for. Now let's create a system that's very similar that works for us. Right? I'm not about like reinventing the wheel. There's no honor in that. It hurts. It's pointless. And guess what? Somebody did it before. Right? So we kind of have some things to work on, I think, mindset wise, just kind of like as a people, outside of the external factors that are there, right? I never want to kind of downplay or kind of say they don't exist, because they do. But like, you know, we have to get mentally stronger a little bit, I think, before we're really going to be able to advance.
That's true. No, that's a good point. Go ahead, Liv.
It's funny that you say that, because I was talking to actually a few people within the last few weeks about that. You know, I have a really good friend. She's about to be 82, and we were just, you know, sharing and talking one night for a couple of hours. And you know, she was just like dropping a whole bunch of knowledge, and I was telling her, you know, people don't do that anymore. People don't take the time to get to listen to all of the stories and experiences of the people that came before them. And I think that's why our communities aren't as strong as they could be or should be, because everybody's all in their phones and, you know, doing their own thing, and no one's building anymore, you know. And even though it sounds like old school, like no one knows their neighbors, no one talks to anybody anymore, everybody just walks by, you know, looking straight ahead, don't look to nobody else, don't be interested in anybody else. And you know, people are missing out, unfortunately. So you know, that's a very good point about, you know, picking the brains of the older people.
Two good, let me jump in real quick. Two good points y'all just both made, right? Nobody speaks to the elders. You said that, Virginia. And then you, Liv, co-signed that and also brought up the fact of the matter, you sat with that woman in her 80s and y'all just built for a couple hours, right? So those 2 points, right, is going to lead to my point. Also, you get the youth, the younger people that's, you know, younger than us. And now, Virginia, I don't know your age, and I ain't going to jump on here and ask you. But the point is,
better not.
33 next week.
That's beautiful.
Okay.
Look at that.
Happy birthday.
I'm going to text you and say happy birthday and all that shit anyway. But, but the point I'm about to make is this. Your age and maybe younger, they don't even respect the fact of the matter that people that came before them, right? So when I say that, I'm going to say this, right? So two things that I recently was looking at
not all
on media. No, not all. I'm gonna get to that. Not all. I'm just saying that the fact of the matter that you get these people that like DJ Academics and also Savage 21 Savage, right? So they say the pioneers of rap for the most part are not relevant. And I'm just changing up it real quick. And I'm changing up real quick just to make a point. Right? This gonna drive a point home.
No, I know it's the same concept.
Well, it's the same. There you go. The same concept. Like, motherfucker, how you say Nas not relevant?
Who just won a Grammy.
Word. Not relevant. Right. And he's the reason why you in the seat that you in. To even rap. Like, people take this shit for granted. Like, Black people created a whole genre of music called hip hop. Black and brown.
Few genres.
I'm gonna say not that one, not just that one.
No. I'm just talking about.
Motown, jazz, blues.
No, ladies, I know that. Work with me. I know that. I took history of music in college. I'm just talking about hip hop right now because of these two artists, because of these two people. DJ Academics is hip hop shit and 21 Savage, right? So
he's annoying.
Yeah, he's just so annoying. He's irrelevant. But the point I'm making is that that's the mindset. They sit up there and shit on the people that they are walking on their shoulders, right? And they take that shit for granted because it's like, oh, I'm here. You can't tell me shit because, like you said, Virginia, I got money. And a lot of people throw money around like that's the reason why that's how we know you successful, because he got $1 million over here. So he must be more successful than him over here because he ain't got $1 million.
Yeah. I think it's unfortunate that people feel like money replaces character.
Word.
Right? I think whether I'm a multimillionaire or I lose it all tomorrow, right? Like I'm still the same person. Like if I have $1 and you ask me for 50 cents, when you ask me for something, I'm gonna give you 50 cents, right? That's just what it is.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, I think just generally a lot of people think money makes you, right? I think money is like glorified and you know, even I guess TRL 106 and Park days, right? Those seeds were planted, right? So I think it's unfair to I never want to completely blame the youth. But I also feel like kids started having kids, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
If you a grandmother at 40, 45, like our grandmothers was 80 something. You know what I'm
Correct.
saying?
Word.
Yeah.
Our grandmothers was grandmothers, right? Like it was like
Yeah.
you came in the house, you knew you had to take your shoes off, go wash your hands, speak to everybody, right? There's certain things that you just
Change
know
your
you have
school
to do.
clothes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You know you can't have your feet up all on the couch.
Hell
Certain
no.
things, right? So I think, you know, as you know, the generation started having kids a little bit younger, as you know, you have situations where the mother wants to be friends with the daughter, right? And it's like, you're
And
not
then they
friends,
girlfriends and shit now. Well,
right?
that's what I was saying. Like,
Yeah,
not to
y'all
cut
not
your wisdom
friends.
again. That's what I was saying. Like you just said, it's kids raising kids. That's the process. I'm not completely blaming the youth, like just the 21 savages and whatever. Like academics is probably older, whatever. But it's just that mindset. You got a young mind. You're not building like you and Liv alluded to earlier with the people that have really been through shit. That really, I tell people all the time, I'm gonna keep this shit 100 right on this podcast right now. That slave shit, I know I'd have been dead. I know, because I'm not listening to shit Master said. And you're gonna have to do whatever the fuck you're gonna have to do to me. I'm not built like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm not that person that you're gonna sit up there and we're gonna beat you, motherfucker. You're gonna have to catch me first. Because I'm not sitting back doing none of that shit. That's just how I am. I always been like that. My grandmother raised me like that. She grew up in Tupelo, Mississippi. It don't get no more racist out there. When she grew up, she was born in 1915. You know what I'm saying? So she done seen some shit. But the point I'm making, and real quick, is the fact that we need each other. And the day that we all really realize that, and I'm not just talking about black and brown, and whoever the fuck else want to come over to us, white people, you're free to come. You're free to come over. It's that mindset.
That's a fact. We need allies.
Correct. It's the mindset of the fact of the matter that if you want to see us help us win, we want to see you help you win. That's it. Bottom line.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think for adults and kids though, kids are looking at adults chase money, literally chase money, right? And it's all the grind culture. Like I'm grinding, right? So they're like, oh, I gotta go grind, right? And I think it kind of has everybody's mind warped, right? Like just the constant hustle. And unfortunately, these kids don't have no real skill set, right? Outside of playing the video game. And so what they go do, right? You're gonna do what you know how to do. So yeah, there's definitely a disconnect, I think, between the youth, even I think in Albany, right? I feel like in the summer, like kind of when the shootings peak, there's always like the community activists, like it's my fault, and it's like it's not any one person's fault, right?
Nope.
But at the same time, it's everybody's fault, if that makes sense, right? But I think there's a lot of stuff we spoke on,
village.
like mentally, if you don't even see the person, like Liv said, as your neighbor, you're like, don't talk to me.
Exactly.
It literally starts right there. Of course, you're not gonna have an issue shooting him if you don't even see him as your equal, as your brother, as anything, right?
Yeah.
If you
see that person as your neighbor saying good morning, y'all raising your kids side by side with each other, right? Creating that community, you're going to be less likely to shoot me, right? Probably. And then if somebody's breaking into my house, messing with my car, something's going on in the block, yo, just a heads up, right? And that's kind of the community that Liv was talking about. The other side of that, right, is just like what I spoke about. If I'm in a job, I'm not mad at the kids. One, I don't want to do no free internship either, right?
Yeah.
Right. But if I'm in a job training program and I come out and I'm making money that don't even sustain me, yes, I am going to go hit the block. Yes, I am going to go on OnlyFans. Yes, I am going to get an alternative, because why would I spend 40 hours at this job? And that's just like what I'm putting myself in these shoes. I'm a worker. I'll spend 40 hours at this job go do 20 at the next. Like, that's just what I'm doing, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
younger kids is
been
like,
there.
well, I see what he's doing, and he's getting the Mary Jeans and this and that and that and this. Like, why would I spend 40 hours at this job and I can't even pay my cell phone bill? Right?
I get that.
Right?
Listen, I get the alternative revenue, long as that shit don't got nothing to do with, hurting other people, the drug sales and stuff like that. And sometimes I also understood when people was growing up that they felt like that was the only route because we weren't getting opportunities to get jobs, to get this, to get that. They were starving people in New York City back in the 80s and stuff like that. So that's when that whole pandemic, the epidemic with the crack cocaine and all this other shit and whatever was really, really coming out of.
Nah, you said it the first time. That was a pandemic that they didn't classify as one.
True. That's true. That's true. That's true. And but it became an epidemic because it became, now when you look at it now and you watch all these documentaries, it was like, hold a minute. How the fuck was they even getting all this shit in here in the first place? To be able to create crack, you got to be able to have the product that is derived from. And then, you know what I'm saying? And then now,
how's it getting in?
Correct. Because then black people, this is the thing about black people that I'm going to always fucking say. We are determined when we set our mind to it to make a way.
Yeah.
Because we persevere through some of the toughest situations. So when you give motherfuckers lemons, they gonna make pink lemonade, red lemonade, motherfucker. This red lemonade. You ever
strawberry
had
lemonade, raspberry lemonade?
They gonna make this shit. They gonna make and then they get mad and they're like, oh, we gotta do something else. Right? To go into this real quick. That's why this whole cannabis ownership shit now is a big fucking like ha shit for me. Because it's like you put all these black people in prison for selling weed. I ain't never seen nobody personally, even when I was blowing it down, I never seen nobody personally. Yo, I'm about to blow up a building. I ain't never seen no shit like that. You don't do that on weed. You hit that shit and be like, yo, I'm about to go eat mad wings. And, I'm about to go get mad wings, God. And
I'm about to watch this whole series. You want
to and play chess.
Netflix and chill.
And play chess with my man down the street because he nice at that shit. That's what I'm gonna do. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what they do. You locking the motherfuckers up for selling that. That ain't hurting no fucking body. Now that the other side got this money and this revenue and these opportunities, now they wanna, we building all these different companies from cannabis.
As far as I'm concerned, there's no true criminal justice as it pertains to marijuana unless you let everybody out.
Exactly.
I don't care.
That's why I brought that shit up.
I don't care if you prioritize them for the licenses. I don't care if you do. I don't care whatever you do. You cannot, in good spirit, make money that you have people locked up for decades over and say that this is racial justice.
This is
the only racial justice that I want to see is that you letting them out and you paying them for their time.
Correct.
Yes.
Paying them for the potential weed sales they would have had.
They would have had. Word. Now, give these motherfuckers an LLC when they come the fuck out to do their thing.
Yeah. Seriously though, because so I know Biden federally pardoned 45,000 people, and he's encouraging states to pardon people for the marijuana arrests and expunge their records and things like that. So when they first legalized it, I don't know how we got on this topic, but
I don't know.
They first legalized
I brought that shit up because it was a segue. Well, go ahead.
So they said they were gonna prioritize people who were youthfully offended or just got arrested and did some time or paid fines. They were gonna compensate them by putting them at the top of the priority list for licensure. Bullshit. They didn't. They haven't. Okay. There's so much red tape that you have to jump through to get those licenses and permits. And what do you think it costs? It costs money. I'm about
to say, honestly, it's always cost prohibitive. So even if you say, I'm going to prioritize all Black and brown people, but I know they don't have a mill sitting on just cash liquid to give me.
That's
Are
why
you really
those
prioritizing them?
There should be programs who, the people who went through the justice system or got tickets or got anybody who was, adjudicated in any way should be on a list where these licenses are just given to them. That's going to create the wealth. And then, I mean, we're not going to do that when it comes to like, I guess the land bank is probably going to be the closest thing that you're going to get to that. But still, there's some capital, and that's where the grants come in. So, do you write these grants?
Say that again.
Do you help people write the grants that they're looking for?
So I write my personal grants to help people buy houses.
Okay.
But not for like marijuana and like
no for housing. We're talking about
yeah. So I definitely write grants for that. And that's kind of how I got the grant that I have. I wrote it, was approved, and then I'm kind of just giving out the money. Yeah.
Okay.
And with that,
and what does that take? I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you good. Go ahead.
So what's that process like? Because I know that a lot of people look for help writing grants. What's that process like?
Very tedious. So like the most grants, and I think shout out to the Tui Foundation. I think his grant is probably the easiest grant because he'll literally tell you what he wants to see, what he wants the board to see. Like, he's trying to give out money, right? It's not like a trick thing with him. Like, this is the grant. This is what I need you to write. This is what it is, right? But I think there's also like the grant administration of it, keeping up with all the documents. And then the last part, the fun part, grant reporting, right? We spent your money how we said we was. Here's all the proof that we did that.
Yeah.
But grant writing is, I would say, as best as you can, right? I think the basic step is literally follow everything, answer everything, right? If you, especially like state grants, HUD, like federal grants, if you're leaving something blank, you're probably not getting it, right? And then I would say another, I guess, like trick or whatever, they like to see partnership in grants. They like to see multiple agencies or multiple organizations kind of working together to kind of really fill out the full scope of the grant, to make sure that the dollars are maximized. But there are a lot of grants that are out there, but lately I've been looking for I've been Googling like small business grants, Black owned small business, women grants.
Yeah.
I Fund Women is a good like central location for grants for small businesses. LISC has a small business grant right now. I could drop the link. I could send Jose the links, and I'll drop the links to you guys.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I've literally, it's funny that you're asking me about grants. I spent like the last 45 days every single day, like grants, business grants, Black people grants, house grants, community development grants.
That's it.
Yeah, like grant. But that's literally how you're gonna find the grants. And even with the like kind of bringing it back to real estate, even with the real estate knowledge, people like, how do you know so much about real estate? And it's like, so when I started at the state assembly, I was doing legislative research, right? So I kind of kept that, right? So I went into real estate and started like researching real estate.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's funny.
So the shit, you just start looking for shit.
Yeah. And I think especially if, like, that I'm focused on minority home ownership, like the rabbit hole is just like, whoa, right? Like just you finding out stuff. Of course, you know about redlining, but then you're like, are they still redlining, right? So I think even just comparing stuff in the past to today, and it's like, well, they're not redlining explicitly like that anymore, right? But they are doing certain things, right?
Yeah.
Like even I went to a house, I want to say in the summer, this past summer, and I was actually the agent I was like inquiring about the property for my client, and the guy was like, "Oh, it's sold. Oh, we're not doing this, we're not doing that." And so my client's like, "Nah, I really want this house. Let me try to." It was a man. He was like, "Let me try to like reach out to him." You know, the owner was like, "Oh yeah, it's still available. We'll take financing. We'll do this with it." So it's like certain things. Like if you're not really in the industry, you'll be like, "No, nothing bad is happening in real estate because of fair housing and
bullshit."
It's like,
just sat right up there and told you what my grandmother called a bald face lie.
Yeah. So it's funny because it might not be the redlining like you said, like we have seen in the past, but now they're talking these elderly people into signing these refinance or reverse mortgage. Yes. I spoke to an 85-year-old woman who has been paying on her house for 35 years, and she only for over 30 years, and she only owed like 35,000, and now she
God.
owes 435,000.
What?
They took her for a ride. They took her
Oh,
for a ride.
I do know a little bit.
Predatory lending.
Virginia,
Yeah,
I do
yeah.
know a little
I
bit
was gonna
about the
say
reverse. I
lower
do know a
credit
little bit about the
scores.
reverse, but hold on. It sounds like they just pretty much unpaid her shit and rolled the price of the house back into it plus the 35,000 that she owed.
Yeah.
Basically.
Is that?
Yep.
But I know a little bit about the reverse mortgage shit, but is that legal? Like that shit sounds like
Loopholes.
like that can't hold on, man. They can't put that whole amount on her to reverse her shit, the whole price of the house or whatever equity she built it today, reverse it, and then she
So
gotta pay
if
on top of that.
if you are agreeing to that and you're signing that, they can do whatever they want as long as you agree to it.
Right.
Listen, I get that, but she
Yeah.
still can go back and challenge it if she get a lawyer or whatever. Like, hold on a minute. You said this lady now she owed 35. Hold on, I can't let this shit go. She owed
said,
$35,000, and now you saying she rolled that shit back out. Now they saying she owed 435,000.
Yes.
Miss, if you watching this podcast or whoever
So did
watching
they
this
take the
podcast,
equity out her house? Because it sounds like she had.
I have no
that's what I'm saying.
no idea, but they ran a scam on her.
Whoever knows that woman or has anybody that's ever been involved in a reverse mortgage and that shit happened to you, please reach out. Virginia, can they reach out to you?
They can reach out to me because I am personally interested in learning about reverse mortgages myself. Yeah, reach out to me.
That shit sound crazy.
The website, my number is all over the internet.
Yeah, you're gonna drop that right before we wrap this shit up. But that shit sound crazy, Liv.
Yeah, but you know what's so crazy too? And that's why I'm like telling people, like, you think that, again, like what I said before, you think that one, they had like very explicit redlining, right? And then you think like today they're not doing stuff like that, right? Because they basically stole her wealth.
Exactly.
Like she's gonna die broke, right? She's gonna die with that nugget on her head. Hopefully, you know, I mean, really what a reverse mortgage, I mean, at least the commercial, it seems like they let you pull out some equity or put money back on your house to pay for like healthcare stuff or if you have any like expenses.
Repairs.
Yeah, repairs, things like that. But I never heard of anything like that. But at the same time, I'm just not surprised, right? Because the elderly population gets targeted by so many different type of scams. Why not take your equity? Probably tell you as soon as you miss 3 payments, the house, I'm gonna own the house. I wouldn't be surprised if that language is now in her ownership documents. I'm not gonna lie to you, right? And that's why I tell people, like, if they scamming you up until the point that you die, like trying to scam on your crib, like that's something that you want to be in. Right? That's something that you want to learn. That's something you want to be in, and master, right?
So that shit can't happen to your family or to people like that. This is my thing. I don't know how motherfuckers sleep at night doing shit like that to people. You know what I'm saying? I really don't.
Very comfy.
Yo, listen.
I would say very comfortable. Like I said, people value money over character. So if I just scam somebody out their crib, I know 3 payments in, if she miss it, it's my crib now.
Yeah, it's disgusting. And this is another thing, another segue to what we just talked about now. One of my favorite shows, and I hate to say it, but it's the truth, was American Greed, right? And the reason why I like to watch that show is because I like to watch the fact of these people that scam these people. Elderly was a big target. Out of they finances, out of their life savings, out of everything. And these people come in, they promise them this, promise them that, scam the shit out of them. But my favorite part of the shit is like you catch these motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? I want to see you catch them. And most of the time they did. A lot of the times that they got away for a couple years, they was in another country, they got extradited back, whatever. But the whole point, what I'm saying is that I don't get how these people can go about and just do shit like this and think that this shit ain't even coming. Like, I believe in karma. That shit ain't coming back to you one way or the other. Like you said, money equates to, well, I got money, I'm successful, I'm this and I'm that. But no, your character is fucked up. And it's coming back to you.
And then money really don't, like, money obviously help you pay your bills, help you go on trips, buy the things that you want, right? But
Yeah.
Money
Help your
to
family
me
members.
don't mean like
Anything.
I would say,
It's
yeah,
paper.
I would say if you had to ask me like a couple years ago when I was like still working for other people, I'd be like, yeah, I want to make X amount, blah, 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 blah. And then I realized working for myself, I made that amount that I said I wanted to make, and it still wasn't enough, right? Like, and meaning that it wasn't enough. Like, yeah, my bills was paid. Yeah, I was doing certain things, but I realized like money is cool, but what I really want is to spend time with my family whenever I want to.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
now
Time.
I'm like literally like, okay, how do I get a job or set up my life where I could be comfortable to travel and do XYZ, but also I don't have to tell my nieces and nephews I ain't see them for 2 months because I've been grinding, right? Like
Right.
I want to be able to see them when I
Mhm.
want to see them. So yeah, money means a lot to a lot of people, but I think we, especially, and it's weird for me as minorities too, with slavery and all that, is like we don't need money to survive in this country, and we proved it already.
Word. For real.
Right? Like we
Yo,
literally
seriously.
already proved it.
It just
So
goes back to
Yeah.
what I was saying earlier. We are resilient. You know what I'm saying? We're resilient and we just make a way. And I hate to say it, but at the end of the day, it's like no matter what barriers, you spoke to that earlier, Virginia, what barriers and other barriers that they keep putting up, we keep finding ways to get out of it. But this is the point I'm going to drive home. It should never be like that. There should never have been people owning people.
yeah.
Word.
For revenue or doing these things to people that were unjust, that were horrific. You know what I'm saying? We even the whole Jewish community was crazy about the Kyrie Irving shit and
I was just
like that.
about to ask you about that.
Yeah. So hold on, let me touch on that. You're gonna jump on that too. Like I just had a conversation with a person recently, and he asked the person that was in the Jewish community, he said, yo, why do people in Jewish communities get upset when people say like blacks was Hebrews and Israelites and like that's anti-Semitic. That's not what he's saying. That's not what he's promoting. He's not saying I hate y'all or this, that, and the third. And she told him straight up, and this is a Jewish person telling a black person, like, honestly, it's just this fear in their community that they feel like things are just gonna be taken from them. Or these things that was horrifically happening to them in the Holocaust and all these other things are gonna happen again. And that's sad to say that they have this fear and this insecurity because that's because of the things that happened to them in the past. And I tell people
But
all the time.
I have a question to that. I have a very real question to that.
Yeah.
What's the mindset of the people who should never stop happening to? Like it's still happening to us.
Correct.
Like so what is our mindset that we went through slavery, they said forget about it. You go through, you see the cop stuff, they say forget about that. They're systematically, economically, educationally, transportation, everything. All if you look at all the I'm a numbers person. You look at all the statistics, we are the worst in every category. Health,
Correct.
education, homeowners, everything. Everything, wealth, everything. We are in the last category. So to me, I get like obviously Holocaust is very real. It's a very real fear. But what is the mindset of, like I said, of us who's like, it keeps happening to us. And it's really like, you have to keep going. We're not giving you no legislation for it. We're not giving you no reparations for it. Right.
No.
Like, keep going.
Right.
Like,
and their communities thrive because you know what I'm saying, that stereotype, oh, Jewish people got money. That's a real thing. Y'all do have those resources and stuff like that. And the thing about it, I give them props for is that they band together and they do what they need to do. And most, like we used to talk about that earlier, black and brown people band together. It's the N-word motherfuckers that don't want to band together and do shit. You know what I'm saying? That's them. But the most black and brown people band together and they do what we gotta do. But even when we do that, and we spend what we're like number 2 in amount of money that we actually spend rather than the revenue that we actually generate and create and get, that's like a smack in the face because it's like we doing all these things, we spending all this money. Yeah, use our music and all these different things that we have in our culture and market to pull in y'all shit. but there's nothing being dispersed out to us to help our communities in the same way that y'all shit can thrive in.
I'm gonna say one thing: ownership. We drive the culture. We do not own the culture.
Nope.
And that's the problem. Like, you hear like Meek Mills only made 11 million in 10 years. He made more than that for his record company in 10 years, right? But he only saw 11 million. So we drive the culture, we drive the arts culture, we drive the sports culture, we drive everything, but we don't own it. I really was hoping that they, not for nothing, like was telling Kyrie he wouldn't ever come back, right? Because I was gonna say we gotta shut the NBA down. That's it. That's it. You know why? And it's not to be like that, but I think one economic boycott, and they did it with the buses, right, in Alabama, right? We saw what economic boycott
baseball
does.
strikes.
Yeah, we just haven't. MTA, right? MTA got their stuff together real quick.
Yeah.
Right? We just haven't got to a point where we understand the economic boycott, right? Because my whole thing is, with this, just going back to Kyrie, like Kyrie getting in trouble for posting something, but Jeff Bezos not getting in trouble for making money off this movie for the last 3-4 years.
Correct.
Cut it out.
Exactly.
Cut it out. So it's okay that he's making money off hatred, but this black man can't post something.
And it wasn't even hatred. Right? He just talking about that's a part of that shit it's in religious books.
But it's really it's really, to me, that was just really like a double standard. And I think
all the time,
Jose kind of bringing up slavery, for me anyway, just watching it, I took it as they're like, oh, you think you got money so you free? Now we about to whip you in front of everybody and show you that we still own you. That's what I took it as.
Yeah.
That's what I took it as. Very much like, you got to do this, and this. Basically what they made Nick Cannon do. You got to do all this to get back in the court.
Like he was saying the shit Kanye was saying, and we ain't even gonna bring his ass up. But I just brought
him up. No.
Kanye,
I think Kanye.
It's a whole different shit.
It's two different situations.
Correct. Like, I just bring it up just to say that.
Yeah, Kanye.
That was crazy shit.
That was aggressive, right? That was aggressive. That was hateful, right? Correct. Like, I'm gonna put them in there. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly. What are you
talking
about?
But to say, for Kyrie basically to say, I know my ancestral history and I know my roots, that's not hatred.
No.
And I think people need to be very actually alarmed that they can spin anything you say as hatred, right? And say that you are perpetuating or promoting an agenda that you're not. To me, that was very dangerous with that. Correct. So, and it wasn't what Kyrie said. I think that what happened after, to me, was like, damn, we really not in our own country.
Yo, and say this,
somebody else's property, like,
and it's exactly, and to say that, and to say this too, is that when it comes down to, it's like we gotta like grovel on our feet, hands and knees, and be kissing these people ass. When at the end of the day, is that you wake up in this country and you black or you brown, and you seeing us get ravaged on the news media, cops killing us, this and the third. We're gonna resolve the problem by getting cameras and no, fuck that. Just create laws that'll stop this shit. That if you a cop or you do this and you kill somebody and it's looked at as hatred, racially injustice, or anything like that, your ass going to jail. I don't give a fuck if you was a cop. You putting motherfuckers on administrative leave. But yet somebody say, well, I know my history, like Hebrews and you gotta do A, B, C, D to come back here and get in our good graces because and by the way too, we're cutting all your Nike contracts and all this other shit up because we feel as though that you were promoting hatred. Get the fuck out of here, man. Like, come on.
And that's they showed the importance of living and dying by the dollar, right?
Yeah.
Because they basically told Kyrie, like, you suspended without pay, you got to pay $500,000 to people, and we cut your Nike money, right? It's like,
yeah,
Nike, like dude in Boston said, Jaylen Brown, correct. Since when Nike has standards? Since when Nike have ethics? Since when? Since when? Since it came to Kyrie?
Because right? Exactly, because we ain't gonna talk about the sweatshops and shit like that they was associated with.
And that's what I'm saying, right? So I think we just have to be cognizant of that, right? And really, I think for the most part, I think it was unfortunate that people in the NBA like spoke out against it, like, or what was going on with him. But that to me was a very good opportunity to like band together, right?
That's it.
And I think and that will always be our downfall, like going back to earlier conversation, right? If they're able to separate us by money, LeBron was like, nah, yeah, what he did was a bad thing.
Yeah,
right? When it comes to money, if we're always like, we're going to pick the dollar over our brothers and our sisters, we always going to be where we are, right? Because they know, listen, if I give this person $100, if I give him $120, right? I'm already going to separate them.
There's a divide. Right? There's a divide and conquer mentality right there.
Yeah.
That's a divide and conquer mentality.
Yeah. So I think we definitely have to, and obviously we need money to survive. But like I said earlier, in many ways, minorities don't need money in this country to survive, right?
No.
Like we do, but we don't.
We do only to eat and live, like to have a place to live, to have, you know, food on your in your belly and clothes on your back. But other than that, I mean, you know, there's been plenty of times where, you know, I've been like, damn, how are we gonna make it? And you know, we do.
Well, that's God. Well, that's, you know, what they always say. You know, the meek shall inherit the earth. You know what I'm saying? Like in the biblical sense and stuff like that, right? I feel as though we are the meek. You know, black and brown people have been, for the most part, they talk about Jewish people and Asian people and this, that, and third. But if you look at our history, we have been the people who have been through the most. And we're, like you said, Virginia, earlier, we're still going through it. They create different barriers, but they're designed to do the same thing. Slavery, okay, that's done. Okay, then you got Jim Crow law, okay, that's done. Then you got segregation, okay, then that's gone. Now you got discrimination, oh, then that's gone. Now you got mass incarceration. Like they just, you know what I'm saying? It's one thing after the next, and then when we speak about it or speak out to it, it's y'all complaining. We complaining. No, this is a civil rights and human rights thing of biblical proportions. Ethical proportions too. Correct. It's like at the end of the day, it's like you don't do stuff to people that you don't want done to you, and that's just that's common sense. That's human interaction. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not gonna do nothing I don't want done to you. But when you do it to somebody and then they sit up there and say, well, stop complaining about it. No, that's unacceptable. And the thing about it is, like with the whole Kyrie situation, I brought him up so we can speak on it because I wanted to say this, as well as with the stuff that I just said, that when people speak out or they think about certain things and they feel a certain way about stuff, if they're not spilling hatred or spewing, well, I hate this and that's one and they ain't shit, you take it for your own, you take it as your own perception of how he feel and the way he moving. That's like the Bible. I'm not a religious person. I'm spiritual. There's been plenty of times, I'm gonna admit to both of y'all and the audience that was gonna be watching this video, that I went into church and I didn't get the message. I just didn't get the message. Not to say that the pastor was wrong or whatever, or he wasn't preaching well. I didn't get the message. But I'll sit there and play Donnie McClurkin, We Fall Down But We Get Up. And them tears will come down my face because I got the message of what he was saying in that song. You understand what I'm saying to you? So it's about your perception of things and what touches you and what you believe in. But that's not to sit up there and say that what those things are a detriment to somebody else if you're not speaking it. And I feel like when people do that, they only do that to play victim or to sit up there and sabotage somebody else's life because, oh, well, this is how we get them. Like you said, we gonna hit them in the pocket. Well, this is what we're gonna do. How dare you? You know I'm saying that, and that's not what he was doing. And shout out to him for the fact of the matter of him believing what he was believing because he wasn't spewing hatred.
No, absolutely. Shout out to him for one, standing on what he said, right? But two, being able to remain calm, cool, and collected, and articulate himself in a way that they understood, right? And that they wouldn't be able to now say, not only did you post this, but then you spazzed out on us. Yep, you're done, right? He was like, nah, right? Like he knew, so he knew the game, and he played it in many sense, if you will, right? But he played it against them. And I think I am proud of him for that, because he probably would have still been suspended had he played into their hand, right? Even when he came back, the Black Israelites was outside the Barclays Center.
Word.
And they
Yeah.
asking him about it. It's like, are y'all more concerned with this man's religion and this BS? Or are y'all concerned with the fact that he came back and the Nets was in a slump and they just won? Like, what are y'all really concerned about here?
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Liv, this has been a dope episode. You got something you wanna end up finish up with?
Yeah, I want you to just tell the people where they can find you and what kind of resources that you can provide, because obviously you've got a wealth of knowledge in your head, and I think a lot of people could benefit, especially, you know, upstate, you know, Albany area, Schenectady, like you said, you know, especially in the Black and brown communities. I know I definitely need your contact info, because any knowledge that I'm always looking for knowledge, and you know, if I can find some, and like I say, you know, we can be each other's resources, and you know, that's definitely a great thing. So yeah, just tell them where they can find you and what kind of services you provide.
Of course. So you can find me around. I am literally everywhere. I'm literally everywhere around the capital region. Actually looking to expand. But direct knowledge, direct information, www.buildingblockstogether.com. You can reach me directly, 718-690-0825. That's my new personal business number. Yeah, but I'm literally around. Services we provide, workshops. We have the grant. We are looking to expand the grant to Black and Hispanic people. So that's something I've definitely been working on.
Dope.
Yeah, so we got the workshops. I'm a real estate agent, so you don't necessarily need a grant, but you still want to buy a house or sell a house, I can do that for you. If you're looking to just get general information about other grants available in the capital region, my resource page kind of has all of that. It does also include the grant for New York City, HPD. So yeah, anything real estate, you have questions, comments, concerns, feedback, please give it to me. I'm always looking for feedback. I think as like a small business owner, like, and I'm like the face of it. I have a grants manager, but I'm like the face. I have so much on my mind. Yeah. It's like, well, you're not doing that good. You're not doing that good. So feedback is like good, right? Because I can kind of take a step back, readjust, and kind of relaunch the product. Kind of what we're doing with the grant, right? So, yeah, I'm literally accessible anytime. Building Blocks, you could DM, Facebook, Instagram. Virginia Rawlins on Facebook, DM. You could add me. I'm out here.
Yeah, I was about to say that. Yeah, tell me your social media stuff. Go ahead, Liv. Sorry.
One more question. Do you have any advice to people who are looking to buy now? I know the markets are kind of getting a little bare, and the APR is like up there. The rates are up there. Do you have any? Yeah. Do you have any advice for people who are looking to buy now? Or maybe wait till 2023, or what's your advice?
Tap in with your local real estate agent, right? I think if you are ready to buy now financially, you have down payments, you have what you need to go through the process, go ahead, right? Because what's going to happen is that prices are going to take a dip, which is probably why you should be buying now-ish, right? Into like next year. But if you say, oh, I'm going to wait for interest rates to drop again, you're going to put yourself in a bad position. And then on the seller side, the market is shifting, right? It's not the crazy hot pandemic market that it was a year ago, 2 years ago. So if you're like, well, my neighbor sold his property for $550,000 over asking, you're not going to, right? Like you're not going to. But I think it's also, with that being said, I think it's also a good time for buyers, right? Interest rates are not the best, but what you can do is buy now and just refinance later, right?
Yeah.
Versus waiting to buy 123 Main Street, that's probably $100,000 now. If it doesn't sell, they're gonna take it. I'm telling you what they're gonna do. They're gonna take it off the market for like a month or two, and they're gonna put it back come March, April, May, June at a higher price. And the interest rates are still going to be where they're at. So now 123 Main Street, it's not $100,000, it's $125,000 or $150,000.
Yeah.
So I would say if you're in a position to buy, go ahead. If you feel like you're not in a position, you need more information on the process, tap in with Building Blocks Together, tap in with me. And let's make a plan, right? Because I think especially when it comes to home ownership, it's not ever a never thing. It's either I'm ready right now or I'm not ready right now. What's the next steps, right? So if it's credit, savings, employment, that's just like not right now, right? So again, what's the game plan? What's the next steps to kind of get you in that position to buy? Yeah. And then I would say, if you're like, well, I can't afford the house that I want, that's great, because your first house is probably not going to be your last house anyway, right? Yeah. So your starter home, I think if you want to do this, a good strategy, if you will, is get a multifamily, right? Help get help paying your rent. And then kind of save, build that second nest egg for your dream home. Yeah, that's sound advice. Virginia, I just want to give you your props, because we had conversations here and there about even my own home ownership journey and stuff like that, whatever. But I never actually really talked to you the way we've talked on this podcast, and I'm glad I didn't, because you're very articulate, you're very intelligent, man. And I just love to see my Black people and brown people with the education. You know what I'm saying? And not necessarily just within your real estate realm and stuff like that. I just, it's like my grandma used to say, I could tell somebody raised you with sense. Shout out to them too. Yeah, no, shout out to them too, man. No, I appreciate you, man, for gracing our podcast. And like I said, you definitely was signed on. Like I said, we all have decent interactions. Even when I saw you, you know what I'm saying, on the first time on Facebook and stuff like that, whatever. And then I actually reached out to you. It was always good energy. You reached out to me just recently and was like, yo, thank you for always support. Yo, I'll be honest with you, that shit meant a lot to me for you to say that shit to me. Because it came out of nowhere. I was like, at first I thought about that. Your call, like that, I think that day or the day before, I put up like a blog status, and then you called, you was like, it's Jose. I said I was gonna hit you up. I was like, that's my guy. Yeah, it just was seriously, because it just, it just little shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So I saw that, you know what I'm saying? I saw what you put, I spoke about that. And I also, when you was like, yo, I always appreciate you for supporting it. At the end of the day, it's like, how could I not? You doing something for our communities. It's a no-brainer. You know what I'm saying? And when we all start thinking like that, that's when we all gonna win. You know? That's right. So again, Virginia Rawlins, I want to appreciate you for joining the Eclectic Minds Podcast. Liv, please tell them where we can find us at.
So we are on all your major podcast platforms, as well as YouTube, Eclectic Minds Podcast. And you can hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, Eclectic Minds Podcast, or send us questions, comments, topics you want to hear us talk about, people you want us to interview at Eclectic Minds Podcast 2019 at gmail.com.
And Liv, I want to say this. I'm so glad you're back. I did miss you. You because she brings other energy. Plus your hair all done and shit, and you got the library behind you.
No, that's a really cool library back there.
Really cool thank you.
That shit is beautiful. I'm trying to look to see what books and shit is behind you. Nah, but yo, listen, man, our viewers and shit, like, the best is yet to come, man. We appreciate it. We appreciate Virginia again for joining us, man. And
thank you guys for having me.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And it's been Eclectic Minds Podcast, man. We appreciate y'all. Peace.